All right, we are live in beautiful sunny Florida, and today, fight fans, we're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night, or UFC Vegas, I should say, 22, Brunson versus Holland. That's a sick main event right there. Like, this card, it's not the greatest, but this main event, I mean, like, honestly, like, co-main event on a pay-per-view worthy. Like, I love it a lot. Two top 10 guys. Holland rising through those ranks. You got Brunson. He's been around for a long, long time. Just took out a big prospect in his last fight, so it's going to be very interesting. We even got the return of Gregor Gillespie in the co-main event. I mean, this card's got fire all over it. You got Tuivasa, Don'Tale Mayes. We're getting a knockout in that fight most likely. Adrian Yanez is a guy I'm super high on. So like even Montel Jackson, this is a pretty damn good card. It's got some hidden gems on it. I am joined by a guest, my boy John, from the Club and Sub podcast. Happy to have him on. John, how you doing today, and what are your overall thoughts on this card?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Calvin. I appreciate it. And by the way, you almost said UFC Fight Night. It might be UFC Florida in a couple months every week. We'll see. So it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, I mean, I like the card. You know, it's not as sexy as some of the fight nights we had, say, back at the start of the year. But like, I mean, at least if you're a hardcore, like Gillespie, it's really fun having him back since he like never fights. You know, both the Bazes debuting. Grant Dawson doesn't fight that often. So I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's a pretty decent card for betting as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, I only have one bet as of right now, but I just got tons of things I'm like monitoring the lines on. I think things are going in the right direction, but we'll see. That one bet I do have, it is a 4-unit one. I'm pretty confident, excited to talk about that. But we're going to get going right at the bottom of the card because we got the UFC debut of JP Buys, and he's taking on Bruno Silva. Lots of line movement on this one. I'll let you go ahead on this one first, man, because I see you sniped yourself a good line.
Yeah, so I jumped in on Silva last week at about plus 200 for 2 units. I guess pretty much what I think is I don't really understand how he's an underdog here. If you look at Silva's career, he's 0-3 in the UFC, but he won the vast majority of his fight with Taha, who was on juice at the time and got subbed there. The Dvorak fight was a close loss, and Dvorak's obviously a very good prospect. And then, you know, Tagir Ulanbekov is another elite prospect. That was a fight you could have made an argument he won. And to me, that's kind of, you know, the most important fight when looking at this one, because Ulanbekov's a serious wrestler, and he wasn't really, you know, he took him down and controlled him for 3 minutes on 5 takedowns, but he wasn't really ever able to control him for extended periods. Silva did a great job scrambling in that fight. He actually landed takedowns of his own. And so taking on JP Buys, like, I'm pretty confident he's the better striker. And so it's like, can Buys take him down and control him? And maybe he can sub him, but the competition difference has been pretty vast here. We've seen Silva scramble with better grapplers than Buys. Like, in my opinion, Ulanbekov's a better grappler. And something to note, like, we've seen in Buys' 2 losses, the Joby Sanchez fight, he basically kind of quit/gassed out when he was forced to get put on bottom. And then when we saw him fight that guy Magomedov, who's 2-0, I think he won via DQ. But, you know, he looked good early in that fight, but he got put on his back in round 2 and basically looked like he wanted out, got completely dominated, and eventually got hit in the back of the head, and they stopped the fight, and he won by DQ. But, yeah, like, I think Silva can scramble with him. I think Silva can land takedowns himself. Like, I think he should be just a small favorite here.
Yeah, man. I mean, so when I first looked into this fight, man, I wish I would have earlier like you did. He was about plus 150 by the time I looked into it. I'm like, you know, that's not a bad line. But then I kind of thought to myself, you know what, I'll just see if the action keeps coming in on him or if it comes back on base. It did not go the way of Buys. Money keeps rolling in on Bruno Silva. Now, at this point, I'm seeing like plus 125, plus 130. I think it's a pretty clear pass at that point.
Yeah.
Definitely applaud you on the plus 200. I think that's an awesome line. But yeah, I mean, I agree with most of what you said, man. I do think Bruno has him covered on the feet here. Probably will end up having the better cardio. I mean, carrying around all that muscle with JP's. I mean, it's not good in the cardio department. Let's just say that. But I mean, man, the guy is bricked up. The guy is really strong. And the biggest flaw with Bruno Silva is he kind of gets bullied around in there. And I kind of feel like that's probably what's going to happen here. I think JP Buys is a rightful small favorite. So accurate line to me at this point. So it's a pass. But yeah, if you got in early like my boy John, props to you and good luck. So moving on to the next one. You know what, man? A lot of people are going to shit on this fight, but I think it's super fun. We got the battle of the Julias. We got Julia, Avila, taking on Julia Stoliarenko. Avila, one of the biggest favorites on the card, about minus 400. You can get Stoliarenko plus 300. You could probably even get a little cheeky with the sub prop with Stoliarenko if you want to roll that way. Let's be honest, that's really her only strength. She's super good from the bottom. I'll give her that. The one thing she's good at, she is really fucking good at it. The thing is, she's just kind of a punching bag on the feet, and I just see this going really, really bad for her as long as it's there. I don't think she's going to be able to take down Avila. I know Avila struggled with Sarge Eubanks, but like way different level from this girl. I'm just not sure. I feel like Julia Stoliarenko, I got to say these last names. Stoliarenko's, she's probably going to be pulling guard, and I don't know. I don't like that. I don't see guard pulling at the highest level being a high percentage thing. So Avila's probably a rightful big favorite here, but I don't know, man. I got this weird feeling that we're going to see some shit. DraftKings. I think DraftKings would be the way to go on Stoliarenko because I don't know how much of my hard-earned money I want to put on a bet, but if I'm making 25 lineups, I'll stick a girl in there who has a decent chance at a sub in rounds 1 or 2 she's probably got to be one of the cheapest fighters on the slate. So, it's just a pass for me. I'm not sure how much Avila can really be trusted at an 80% probability. So, yeah, I think she takes it, but I want no part. What do you think of this fight?
Yeah, I'm mostly with you. I can't really see any way that other than Avila breaking her ankle that if Stoliarenko wins this fight, that's not a submission. But and so I do think Avila has her covered. I doubt Stoliarenko can land takedowns. I think Avila's probably going to knock her out. But also, I don't know how high I am on Avila's grappling. And it's there's not a ton of her on top, where she doesn't have her opponent hurt. And so it's I'm guessing – I think it's a safe hypothesis that she'll probably be fine on top based on the Yana fight and probably just dominate this fight even if she doesn't finish. But like you said, I think it's enough at 80%. You got to be pretty damn sure that she's going to be okay down there. And how many WMMA guard subs have we seen in the last year? It's either going to be one-way traffic with Avila finishing her or she's going to get caught in an armbar. I don't really want to have any part of the minus 400, but I think she's probably the side.
So let me take a look at the doesn't go to decision line in this fight. I haven't even really looked at it. You can get fight doesn't go to decision at plus 145. It's totally likely that the two most likely outcomes of this fight are Avila TKO or Stoliarenko sub. So at plus 145, I actually kind of don't really hate that bet at all. But you are betting a women's fight to finish inside the distance. So I could understand some hesitation as well. But we're going to move on to the next fight here. Man, this is my bet. So we got Montel Jackson. He is the biggest favorite of the card. He's minus 750 now. He's taking on the newcomer Jesse Strader, plus 500. So, yeah, pretty obvious. I think Montel Jackson is the better fighter here. He's got tons of UFC experience at this point. And, he's really talented everywhere, man. He hits super hard. He's super long for the weight class. He's got a decent ground game, and maybe some people won't see that just because of the way he's been losing, the 2 losses he took in the UFC. But and another thing, I think Strader is going to come with that game plan as well. I think he's going to try to grapple Montel Jackson, but it's just this dude ain't no Ricky Simone. This dude ain't no Brett Johns. And I give people props for betting Brett Johns in that last fight because I didn't really see that coming. But man, that Brett Johns dude is really good. I'm sad to see him leave the UFC. He's he's stuck to Montel like glue. It was a really, really good performance. But that being said, Brett Johns did get dropped in that fight. Montel Jackson, like I said, he's got big power. I see this going really badly for Jesse Strader on the feet. And then I can even see Montel landing takedowns of his own. Like I said, this dude's really well-rounded. I think people kind of forgot about him just because of that Brett Johns loss. But guys, this isn't Brett Johns anymore. This is a young fighter who is probably taking a step down in competition that he probably this is the path he probably should have still been going in. Brett Johns was a big step up. Let's not beat around the bush. So the bet I took here was kind of surprised at the line. I got a minus 130 on Montel Jackson to finish this fight inside the distance. I know it's bantamweights, but not only is this a big mismatch, I think he does have above average power for the division. He's got really, he Darce choked Brian Killer. I know he hurt him first, but still, that was really slick. Trains at Pura Vida. He's got good jiu-jitsu. So this is a case where I think he could finish the fight anywhere. And turning a minus 750 into minus 130. I'll take the chance that he finishes this fight. So yeah, 4 units on Montel to finish minus 130. What do you think of this fight?
Yeah, I actually don't mind that bet at all. I was kind of looking at it myself. I actually almost poked Jackson minus 500, but it was like, okay, pull back on the reins a bit, John. Like this is just you don't want to get yourself in there. But that said, it's like kind of to your point. You talked about Johns and Simone, but Simone is maybe outside of Marab, the best wrestler at 135 pounds in the division. Brett Johns out-grappled Tony Gravely. Like, he's an excellent, excellent grappler. I actually bet Johns there, and it's not even that I think Montel is a bad grappler. I think he has some issues with the double leg on the fence, and it's like I don't think – but like I knew Johns was a slick enough striker to be able to get into range to hit those takedowns. I don't think Jesse Strader is. Like, it's not easy to just walk a guy with a 76-inch reach back to the fence. And so it's like, so there's that. I don't give him much chance to out-grapple Montel either. I actually think if somebody's going to be hitting takedowns, it's probably going to be Montel, to be honest. And then on top of that, it's just like, some credence needs to be given to the level of competition these two guys are fighting. Like I said, Montel debuted against Ricky Simone, even beating Felipe Colares. He's far better than anybody Jesse Strader's fought. Like, Strader's been fighting, regional cans. And now fighting. Look, I have issues with Jackson, but Jackson is no doubt a top 10 talent in terms of talent-wise. Whether he'll get there or not, I don't know. But this is a huge step up, and I think he's going to finish him as well.
Yeah, man. The ceiling of potential for Montel Jackson is there. It's just all about putting it together. And he's 28. He's got some time still. So
I actually think what you said about this is what they should have been doing all along is right. Like, he didn't start MMA until it was very late. Like, you got to give the guy a solid 10 to 15 fights before you start throwing him in the deep end there.
For sure, man. So yeah, that's the one bet I got. But I am looking at a bet for this next one, man. We got Roman Dolidze. He's currently minus 140. He's taking on Trevin Giles. He's plus 120. So before I looked into this fight, I thought Trevin Giles is a live dog all day long. I mean, based on experience, Roman Dolidze dropping down to a weight class he's never fought before. I thought Trevin Giles looked the best he ever has against Baldon Lewis last fight. But I'm not going to lie. I like Roman Dolidze here. He just posted a picture on Instagram, by the way. He looks absolutely shredded, and I like this guy, man. I think he's really some might call him low volume on the feet, and yeah, he kind of is, but he's super calculated. Like, he's a really intelligent striker, and I mean, he's just not going to walk into Trevin Giles' jab 600 times like Bavon Lewis did. It's going to be a lot more competitive, in my opinion, and where I really see the advantage for Roman Dolidze is the grappling. That's where Trevin Giles has had struggles a lot, and he panics in there too. Like, when he gets put in a bad spot and people start attempting subs on him, it's not a good look, man. I mean, okay, so when Trevin fights guys that just aren't on his level, he will absolutely embarrass them and destroy them. But I think Roman Dolidze is on his level, and stylistically speaking, I just see the sub game being there for him, the takedowns being there for him. And yeah, I mean, minus 140, I'm thinking about it. I kind of want to see how he looks on weigh-ins first, because, like, yeah, it's all good and well that he looks fine on Tuesday of fight week, but how's he going to look on Friday when he's completely sucked in? So I kind of want to wait till weigh-ins, see how Dolidze look. I want to see how the line moves. I think we're probably going to get some more underdog bets on Trevin Giles. So if I can end up with Roman Dolidze pick him by Friday, I like the way he looks at weigh-ins. Probably going to end up putting a little bit on Roman Dolidze. I just think the sub game is going to cause Giles problems. That's where he's had problems in the past. So, and not only that, yeah, I know Giles looked amazing last fight, but let's be honest, Bavon Lewis, he's very green. Like, he's all the physical attributes for sure, but like, it's just not all there yet. But yeah, who do you got, man?
So I'm also thinking about a bet on this fight. I'm actually thinking about a bet on Trevin Giles, to be honest. So it's funny, because you touched on something interesting. It's like, I actually think if you were to just look at it without him having to fight a live body during a fight as a grappler, I don't think he's a bad grappler. But you're right, he's extremely panicky. Like, I bet him against GM3, and like, that fight is one of the things that, like, I just kind of can't get out of my head. It's him sticking himself deeper in that choke. And like, I personally think, the stand-up will probably be close. I'd probably edge Giles. I think Leeds is probably the better grappler, but I think Giles has the ability to kind of stuff takedowns and work his way up. But like, kind of to your point, the reason I haven't bet it, and that I'm kind of hoping for a better number and may ultimately stay away, is just it seems like whenever you force Giles to think in the octagon, he just collapses and does something like the Zach Cummings fight, the Mirror Shark fight. Even his Antonio Braganetto, he completely panicked and almost got finished in the first round of that fight. And so it's like, while I think he's got the tools to grapple with the leads, I also kind of think, who knows? This is just narrative, but Roman seems like a tough guy who's not really afraid of anything, whereas Trevin seems, mentally, I don't want to say mentally weak, he's a cop, but like, a little, I don't know, he's a little flaky. Like, between what we've seen in the octagon and him having like heart palpitations right before he's supposed to fight Kevin Holland, there's a lot of stuff around Trevin that scares me here. And so it's like, I don't think I'll play the current number. If it gets to plus 150, I might. But I do think he's interesting, and I think on some level he may be getting a bit disrespected. Like, I agree the Lewis win isn't that impressive, but he's 4-2, 5-2 in the UFC. He's still fairly young, and I think he's got talent. Whether he ever puts it together, I don't know. But I don't know. I think he could be live here.
Another fight that kind of rubbed me the wrong way was the James Krause fight. Former 155-pounder taking the fight on 1 day notice and giving Giles some problems. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I agree with what you said. Like, if you put Giles like on the mat and BJJ practice, I'm sure he's great. But like in the heat of the moment in a fight, it's kind of different. So yeah, I got a Delete to take a sub here. So moving on to the next one. This is one that really has me thinking. We got Leo Santos taking on Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson minus 200. Santos plus 170. Who do you got here, man?
This one also has me thinking, to be honest. I've gone like back and forth on this fight probably about 7 times. Like, when I first saw the line, I was like, Leo Santos plus 200 against the grappler. What the fuck? It didn't make a ton of sense to me. And then it's like you watch the Bogota fight and he gasses out like that. I'm like, wow, that really scares me. Like, because honestly, Dawson, what he is reliable to do is keep coming for 15 minutes. But then on the other side, it's like, I don't know whether Dawson's going to grapple or not. I have this suspicion if Dawson does grapple, he'll probably be fine on top. And if that's the case, I think he rides him out and probably wins fairly easily. But on the other hand, Santos is a decorated BJJ guy and like very decorated. And how often do we see wrestlers who are actually willing to go into that guard? We don't almost ever see it. They almost always decide to keep it standing. And if Dawson decides to keep it standing at all, he's really horrendous at distance. And maybe he could still win a stand-up fight if, he pushes a pace and Santos gasses out. But Leo hits hard, man. And I don't know. I think playing Dawson here is kind of playing with fire, because I think if he doesn't come out with a grapple-heavy game plan, he's obviously in danger of being knocked out. And I think, even if he does come out with a grapple-heavy game plan, while I think he'll be fine on top, who knows? Santos is good enough to could sweep him and maybe finish him. So it's probably a pass for me. I need to look a little deeper at the props of this fight, to be honest, because Santos round 1 could be interesting.
So I was kind of like the opposite. When I first saw this fight, I'm like, oh yes, Leo Santos is finally going to take this loss. I like Grant Dawson. I think he has the tools to beat Leo. He's probably a rightful, 70% indication here. But like, when I think about it more, like, Leo Santos isn't your average 41-year-old. First of all, he looks great. And not only that, like, yeah, he's inactive, but he also doesn't have all those fight miles. Like, he hasn't taken a lot of damage. He hasn't been in there a whole lot. So like, in fight years, he's really not that old, and I think he could probably even have a couple more years left in him. Not only that, like you said, like I wanted to believe that Grant Dawson's striking is coming a long way, but I still think it has a long way to go, and I just don't see this going well for him on the feet. Like, Leo he's really sharp, man, and he's got the power, big frame for the division. Like, I don't see this going well for Grant if it stays on the feet. But that being said, I don't think it's going to stay on the feet. Even if it does, like you said, I think Grant could even have just success with volume alone. Leo is pretty low volume, but I think the takedowns will come. And, based on the Bogotov fight, I mean, Bogotov had some success on top, and I feel like Grant Dawson's much better than that guy. Speaking of which, if you have never seen that Leo Santos Bogotov fight, like, first of all, it's a 15-minute fight that's going to take 30 minutes to watch, firstly. And, yeah, he got cut rightfully. That was just – go ahead.
You know what's interesting about Dawson, too? Like, I've gone back and forth on this guy about 1,000,000 times. Like, I was pretty big on him against Trizano. And then the way Trizano lit him up in round 2, I was like, oh my God, this guy is a fraud. He is a complete fraud. The first guy that can sprawl and brawl is going to kill him. And then I was huge on Narimani against him last fight, and I was like, oh man, maybe he is making it. I cannot. I don't know. I zig back and forth on him so much, but I do think he's legit in terms of his grappling.
For sure, young guy, had a great camp. I mean, we could really just see a big level up at any point, and that could be the case here. I still do think Grant Dawson's a rightful favorite. I don't know about 70%, maybe 60 to 65%. I think it really might be a dog or pass situation, but I'm happy to just sit back and see how it plays out. So moving on to this one is we got a rebooking actually. We got Marion Renaud. She's taking on Macy Chason. Let me get the line on this one. I think it's about Macy minus 200. Yeah, minus 200, minus 210. Come back on Renaud plus 170, plus 175. Man, this is weird because like we got a 43-year-old who, I mean, it's not looking good. Kind of inactive in recent years too, and she's going up against one of the bigger, more physical, harder hitting girls in the division. So at first glance, I'm like, oh yeah, Macy's gonna kill her. But when you watch Macy's fights, it's like, shit, dude, this girl was just, I mean, she might just not have it. It's really all physical attributes with her. I don't know how much skill she really has. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I think she's kind of green. She got kind of rushed into the UFC early. Like she was on the Ultimate Fighter at what, like 3-0 or something. So I think she just still has a long way to go. I don't want to completely write her off. And I think she's probably even favored here for a reason. Like I said, I mean, Marion Renaud, I like her. She cashed me some bets in the day. Been around a long time, but yeah, man. I mean, Father Time's undefeated, and I think Macy Chiasson has the tools to, probably stuff the takedowns. I feel like she's just gonna be too physical and strong. And then on the feet, it might not be pretty, but I think she'll be able to do enough to get it done. Bigger, harder hitting strikes over the course of 15 minutes. So I'll go with Macy to take a decision. But like, if this hits the mat, I think it can get really sketchy. So I'm definitely not going to be touching that Macy 210. Who do you got?
Yeah, I agree. You can't touch the Macy line. I actually almost played Renaud the first time it was booked. Looked a bit more at it, and like, so you said Father Time's undefeated, and I think that's right on point because like whenever you back someone who's 43, 44, you're running the risk that one of these next few fights, even if they would ordinarily be a favorite, they're going to look plus 500 just because it's gone. Like when it goes, it goes, and like we don't really know where that is with Renaud. And like skill for skill, I think she can win. I do think she can win a kickboxing range. Obviously, there are things she can do on the mat to win this fight. What was really concerning to me, though, is the Pennington fight for two reasons. Like, look, Rocky's a physical girl, but I wouldn't say she's like a dominant physical force. And what she did to Renaud in the clinch that fight was extremely concerning, first of all. She held her there without any issue, did a ton of damage. And then after that, you saw Renaud gas out pretty bad in that fight as well. So between the possibility of her gassing and, she's fighting a girl who actually loves to do what Rocky did, which is grab underhooks, push you to the fence, try to take you down, but if not, throw some knees in the clinch. And I kind of think she's going to be able to, just kind of hold her there with ease. And so, yeah, I wouldn't lay the minus 210. I think that's crazy. I think if Renaud does have some stuff left, there are things she can do to win this fight, especially, if Renaud can land takedowns. If she's able to, I think Macy's pretty bad on bottom. But yeah, I mean, the age gap's too much. Watching the Pennington fight is too much. And like, I think you kind of touched on it. I don't really like Macy, but she's obviously athletic and she is pretty young. And you're right, she was 3-0 when she won the Ultimate Fighter. And so it's like, I think it's reasonable to expect her to make improvements fight to fight. So one girl's going one way, the other's going the other. As much as I want to take the dog in a WWE MMA fight, it's one of those things where it's like I take the plus 175 in 3 minutes in. I'm like, what did you do? Like that. So that's a pass for me.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, we could definitely expect the improvements to come through training at a gym like Fortis MMA. Yeah. That's a big one for her. So we got another women's fight here, man. This is a new one. We got Cheyenne Bays. She was originally supposed to fight Kay Hansen. That was a really, really good fight. Now this new girl, we got Montserrat Ruiz, who I believe fought in the Invicta range. I'll be honest, I haven't looked into this fight yet. This is the one fight I haven't gotten around to looking into. I taped Cheyenne when she was supposed to face Kay, but I haven't been able to look in the newcomer yet. Have you looked into this fight, man?
Not a ton. I taped Cheyenne when she was supposed to fight Kay as well. I'll say this: I don't have. I've maybe watched one or two fights of Montserrat, and she seems like, I don't know, an okay grinder. She should definitely be a dog. But that said, like, I'm not going to give a huge technical analysis. Like I said, I didn't watch much, but this has a classic. Cheyenne Bays has 6 fights, and she's fighting a girl who's actually fought some. I don't want to say Montserrat's fought elite competition, but she went to a decision with Danielle Taylor, who was in the UFC. She's fighting a girl with more experience, who's generally faced better competition. Laying the minus 350 is going to be dicey if you get it. Like, I would not want any part of her here.
Right, and that's kind of the reason I haven't even got around to this one. Like, I wouldn't expect to lay the big juice on 5-1 Cheyenne Bays, or I don't know if I want to take the underdog shot on this girl stepping on it in super short notice. I definitely don't like the fact that she lost to Danielle Taylor. Danielle Taylor is, she got cut from the UFC for a reason. Let's be honest. So, yeah, maybe tune into Twitter. Maybe I'll give a breakdown on that fight when I actually get around to it. But we got bangers from here till the end, man. We got Max Griffin. He is, he's getting bet up there. He's about minus 200 now. He's taking on Kanan Song, about plus 170. I see you have a bet on this fight, so I'll let you go for it.
Yeah, I took 2 units on Griffin minus 160 earlier in the week or last week. I don't remember. Time's blurring together during quarantine. But anyway, so I kind of see this as, in some respects, obviously the fighters aren't similar, but to kind of how I saw Dominic Cruz, Casey Kenny, which is mainly that Kanan Song, if you watch him, like he's very linear. He's not very active, and he's kind of constantly looking to move the big bomb or land the big bomb. And they're kind of similar to Kenny. Obviously, Kenny is very active, but similar to like someone like Casey Kenny, when you move on him and move laterally, he just seems kind of confused and doesn't really know what to do. And Griffin on the other side is, a very good boxer. He's 4-6 in the UFC, but I kind of think if you played his career out 100 times, this is like the bottom 10% of outcomes, how it's gone. He's got some things he could do. He sticks and moves really well. I think Song's going to struggle really badly to track him down at distance. Just even comparing their fights with Alex Morono, Morono absolutely put it on Kanan Song, whereas Morono and Griffin was a great fight, on the feet. Very, very close fight. And, on the other side of it, we've seen Song really struggle with grappling in the past. And not that Griffin's a great grappler, but when he's had an advantage in the wrestling, he's gone to it. And I think, he has a chance to hit takedowns here if he wants them. And so I guess pretty much I think Griffin can win this fight wherever it goes. Some serious IQ questions with him, and Song obviously hits very hard, but I largely think Griffin should dominate minutes. So I'm on Griffin here.
So some weird stats with this fight. So Max Griffin in his last, in his last 5 fights, he's actually gotten 14 takedowns. But on the other side of that, in the, in the 5 fights that he's landed takedowns in the UFC, he's lost 4 of those fights. And I get what you're saying. A lot of those could have been wins, especially the Thiago Alves fight. I don't know, man. Anyone that's been paying attention to me for a while, I've faded Max Griffin so many times. Sometimes I've lost, sometimes I won, but I've just never really overly been high on his skills. And now he's pushing 36 at this point too. So now you got to factor in age. And not only that, I kind of feel like there's a little bit of recency bias with the Ramiz Brahimaj fight. I agree that was probably one of the best Max Griffins we've seen, but Ramiz is a grappler and didn't even shoot once in that fight. It was kind of like a mind-boggling performance, just really, really bad. Even before that, dropping a decision to almost the ghost of Cowboy Oliveira. Even the Alex Morono fight, I was there live. Morono dropped him bad, almost got the finish. And even looking at his wins, dude, Ramiz Brahimaj, okay. Zalim Imadaev, okay. Eric Montano, okay. Mike Perry win was probably, that's easily his best win by far, but Mike Perry just didn't show up that night. It was pretty bad. On the Song Kanan side, he's got 45% takedown defense. He's, not only that, he's getting taken down by guys like Hector Aldana and Derek Krantz and Callan Potter. Now, I'll give him props. He popped right back up against Potter last fight. Maybe he's making the improvements. We haven't seen him fight a lot in the whole last 2 years, so I think you could maybe expect to see some improvements. It's just, I don't know, man. I feel like if he doesn't knock out Max Griffin, then that line probably will look rightful. If this fight goes to decision, I think you got to favor Max at least 70% of the time. But I mean, I'm not betting max. I just can't do it, especially at this line. Like you got minus 160. I think that's a little better for sure. I was even eyeing max myself then, but I mean, I've been going against Max his whole career. I can't just jump on his trade now. So I'm happy to sit back and see how this fight goes down. I think Kanan definitely has the knockout potential. I think he's a better play for DraftKings than he is for a bet, honestly. And yeah, man, I'm just excited to see how Kenan looks this time around. And this would be easily the biggest win of Kenan Song's career. Like you look at his wins: Callan Potter, Derek Krantz, Hector Aldana, Bobby Nash, 4 guys no longer with the company. The one time he fought a legit dude and Alex Morono, like you said, he kind of got lit up. So yeah, it's hard to trust Kenan Song. I know some people that are on Kenan, but I just couldn't get on board, man. Maybe if he hits that plus 200 mark, I might give it a go, but I'm happy to pass for now. So moving on, we got I'm excited for this. We got a prospect I'm pretty damn high on. We got Adrian Yanez. He's taking on Gustavo Lopez. We got Yanez minus 210. What do you think about this fight, man?
I think it's kind of a weird fight, to be honest. I like Yanez's offense. I like his takedown defense. I think he's a guy who's going to be pretty tough to grapple in the UFC. He's obviously got serious power and pretty strong finishing instincts. The one thing that kind of concerns me is, it would be easy to watch his last 2 fights, his debut against that late notice replacement and then his fight on Contenders, and just be like, oh my God, this guy's stand-up's perfect. And I agree offensively, he keeps a high pace. He's very dangerous. But he gets hit flush a lot if you dig a bit back in his regional tape. Like his fight with Miles Johns was hitting him clean a lot in that fight. Lopez on the other side, I'm not super high on Gustavo Lopez. I don't think he does anything great. He's a decent grappler. He's a decent striker. But he does hit hard. And so it's like, I think it's one of those fights where I expect Yanez to pretty much win the minutes here pretty easily. He's probably got some good finishing upside himself. But I think there's going to be opportunities for Lopez to win this fight, to be honest, via KO. Like if he, bites the mouthpiece and goes forward, I think he can have some success here. Probably would struggle to win a decision, but I think he's live for a KO. Like the pick is Yanez just because I think athletically and skill-wise, he's just kind of a couple tiers ahead of Lopez here. But I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park if he doesn't get him out of there early.
Yeah, I agree completely, man. And I think, history will back itself up on that fight, or on this fighter. Yeah, he looks amazing offensively. That's all good and well. The knockouts are nice and everything. But when this guy goes to decision and he's not able to knock out his opponent and it can get kind of sketchy. I mean, last time he went to decision against Kyle Estrada, split decision. Time before that, Miles John lost a decision. Domingo Pilarte, they went to the distance and he lost the decision. Even going back to Levi Miles, lost the decision when they went to the distance. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sold on Yanez being very, very talented, and I think he's a rightful favorite here for sure. I do think he's better than Gustavo, but yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. If he's not able to knock him out early, this could end up playing much closer than the odds indicate. So I'll go with Yanez. I think he's definitely got a bright future. I'd like to see him get it tested here. I don't want to see Gustavo just fall over in 1 minute like these last couple guys have. I want to see him get tested, see what he's got, and man, if he can, maybe go through some adversity in this fight and show some toughness, some heart, I think Yanez can go a long way. So definitely going to be picking him here. I'll say he takes a decision. Moving on, man. This is a very fun heavyweight scrap. We got Tai Tuivasa minus 200 taking on Don'Tale Mayes plus 170. I'll start with this one, man. I mean, I'll give Don'Tale Mayes some credit. Like, I think he's come a long way. Like, when I saw him lose to Alan Crowder in the Contender Series, I think that might have even been season 1. I thought to myself, oh, yeah, this guy is just never going to pan out. And then he actually won 3 fights straight on the regional scene, and then smoked that dude on Contender Series, got his way back into the UFC. So I'll give Don'Tale Mayes some credit. I think he's come a long way. But, man, he had some trouble with the first 2 fights. Like, they did not do him any favors giving him Cyril Gane and Nascimento. Like, I know Nascimento lost to Chris Daukaus. By the way, that loss actually aged pretty well. Chris Daukaus is a great fighter. Nascimento's got some BJJ skills, man, and that was just a bad matchup for Don'Tale from the get-go. Now, where I expected to see some big improvements from Don'Tale, I thought he was going to just run through Rocky Martinez, but that fight turned out to be a lot sketchier than planned. He got taken down. He slowed down in that fight. It got really, really ugly. But that being said, like he's got some great attributes. Like he's a huge guy for the division, 6'6", 81-inch reach. Like this is one of those guys where if he really puts it together, he can cause some problems. But Tai Tuivasa is a guy, like, I know it's Stefan Struve, guys, but I thought he looked really fucking good there. I thought he looked a little more agile. Not only that, like, I think people really got down on Tai Tuivasa because of that losing streak he went on. But guys, main event against Junior Dos Santos. I mean, tough fight. Blagoy Ivanov. Blagoy is one of the most solid guys around, top 15 guy. And then Sergey Spivak, which we all shit on Tai Tuivasa for that Sergey Spivak loss. And then that's another one of those losses that actually kind of aged well in hindsight. Sergey Spivak, I think, is a pretty damn talented guy. Again, another bad matchup for Tai Tuivasa. But where this fight gets interesting, I'm sure both guys absolutely love this fight because they don't have to worry about their biggest weaknesses, and that's the takedown defense. These guys are going to give each other the fight they want, and I don't know about minus 200 in a fight where I think these guys are just going to be slinging bombs and anything will happen. But I do cap Tai Tuivasa the favor here. Not quite minus 200, maybe like the minus 150, minus 160 range. But I just think he's better, faster. I think he'll touch the chin of Dontel, probably get him out. If not, he'll win a decision. Not only that, man, people forget like Tai Tuivasa performed pretty damn well against Andrei Arlovsky in a time where a lot of guys were struggling against Arlovsky. Like he made it much more clear, like than guys like Augusto Sakai and Walt Harris did. So yeah, I like Ty. Wouldn't touch the minus 200 with the 10-foot pole, but I'll go with him. Who do you got, man?
Yeah, so I actually bet Dontel Mays. Took one unit at plus 210 here. I actually agree with most of what you said. And personally, I think I had Ty like 55, 60%, like slight favorite. But my issue with Ty is, so I agree. I think he's the more potent offensive fighter. I think, look, obviously he's faced a murderer's row of talent at heavyweight. So it's hard to take too much from that 3-fight losing streak. And just like you also touched on, Nascimento and Gan are pretty brutal fights for a debut for someone like Mays. I think where my issue is, like, I actually do think the offensive upside favors Ty here. He has so many holes defensively, though, that it's very, very hard for him to cover that number without, getting finished. And like you're talking about a guy in Mays who's 6'6", 81-inch reach. Do I expect Dontel Mays to use his athletic attributes and his athleticism to keep this on the outside? Probably not. Do I think he's capable of it? Yeah, I do. Like, I think if he does work the jab a bit more than he did against like Roque Martinez and works those deep kicks a lot, he can keep and frustrate Tuivasa on the outside. And I think he can probably hold his own in the clinch here. Ultimately, though, I'm agreeing with you that I think, Tuivasa going forward should be able to find his spots here. I just think it's a fairly close fight. Like, I'd expect Tuivasa to probably be just a bit more busy and maybe slightly higher finishing upside. But I do think if there's grappling upside, it's likely in Mays' favor. And I think he's got, massive athleticism attribute. Not advantage, but like, size and reach, like that's pretty significant, if he actually uses it. And we've seen him, go side to side. Okay. The first round of the Roque fight, he was keeping him out of range without much of a problem. And then he just seemed to do Dontel Mays things and start standing still and let Roque close distance on him. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel great about it. It's only a 1-unit play. It's just like I'm kind of willing to fade Tuivasa at plus 210 against a bigger, faster opponent.
Yeah, man, plus 210. I can't really blame you for that at all. Speaking of good lines, you got a good line in this next one too, my man. We got Gregor Gillespie. He is returning and he's taking on a tough one here. I won't lie. We got Brad Riddell. So Gillespie, he did get bet up. Currently, we are sitting minus 240. It's still going. Brad Riddell plus 205. Tell me what you got.
Yeah, so I took 3 units at minus 175. So this is kind of wild. Like, I was watching this line when it released, and I saw minus 185, and I'm like, that seems low. I'm like, am I missing something? And then Riddell money started flowing in. Like, he got all the way down, like minus 145. I was just like, okay, maybe I'm going to get Gregor at evens here. Like, this is wild. And then, obviously, the money kind of ping-ponged back, and so I jumped in at 175. But, yeah, I mean, look, I like Brad Riddell. He's a fun fighter, good kickboxer. I don't really see – I shouldn't say I don't see how he wins this fight. Like, obviously, he could KO Gregor. That's in play. But, we've seen Riddell – he struggled in the grappling against Mustafayev a bit. I think he was controlled. He got taken down like 8 times and was controlled for 7 or 8 minutes. Alex Silva, first round of that fight, basically dominated the grappling in the first round of the fight. I read it, and actually a pretty interesting stat here. So Gregor Gillespie's total fight time in the UFC, 76% of it's been spent grappling. Of that fight time, 99.5% has been him in a control position. Bradley Riddell spent about 50% of his fight time in the UFC in grappling. Of that time, he's been in a control position about 70% of the time. It's just like looking at the numbers, looking at what Gillespie does to people. Look, yeah, I get it. He was KO'd by Kevin Lee. It's a big layoff. But Gillespie attempts almost a takedown for 15 minutes. He averages nearly 50 seconds of control per takedown attempt. I just, unless Riddell can land a KO at range here, I don't think he can keep Gillespie off of him. And I kind of think even if he can stand up, once Gillespie has his hands locked on the fence, he's not getting back off the fence for the rest of the round and possibly even getting finished here. You know, he gives his back to get up, and we've seen Gregor capitalize on that over and over. Ultimately, I kind of just think, to be honest, I don't even think minus 240 is that bad. I really think Gregor's like 75% here. Yeah, I think Riddell's KO or bust.
Yeah, man. I mean, out of all the chalk on this card, if I was going to play some, it would probably be Gregor Gillespie. I was looking at the stats for this fight too. So in his 3 UFC fights, he has been taken down 14 times. Jamie Mullarkey 3 times with 3 minutes of top control. Mustafayev 8 times with 7 minutes of top control. And Alex Lego da Silva 3 times with 5 minutes of top control. I mean, and not only that, so let's talk about those fights. Jamie Mullarkey, I mean, he's a punching bag. Let's not beat around the bush. Mustafayev, he's a striker. We haven't seen Mustafayev wrestle a whole lot. That's just not what he does. He was outgunned on the feet, and he had to switch it up. And props to him. He landed 8 takedowns. He made that a good fight. But yeah, I mean, that's not what he does. And then Alex Leko da Silva. So I'm high on the skills of Alex Leko da Silva, but there's a huge issue with him, and that's his gas tank. I mean, it's like clockwork every single time the guy gasses out. If he had a gas tank on him, I have no reason to believe he wouldn't be able to keep up what he did to Brad in the first round. He's taken on a guy here who, I mean, not only can actually keep up the pace for 15 minutes, Gregor Gillespie is one of the best pure wrestlers in the UFC. And yeah, man, I'm not going to lie, it's tempting. I think this is a good spot for him to just kind of ragdoll Brad Riddell. And I mean, everyone will bring up Brad Riddell's get-up game, and yeah, it is good, but like you said, what's going to happen when he gets back up? Gregor's just going to stay right on him. This isn't going to be a spot where the guy gasses out, where the guy just, I mean, yeah, okay, Gregor got knocked down in his last fight, but I mean, Kevin Lee's a guy who, I mean, how many UFC fights did Kevin Lee have before that? I mean, Kevin Lee's a longtime vet. We're still talking 4 fights into Brad Riddell's UFC career. I think he still has a lot to work on, and I think this is time for Brad Riddell to finally take that first L. But I mean, no shame. Gregor's a beast, great wrestler, and I think he'll be able to do his thing here, man. It's just, I think you're going to need somebody like a Kevin Lee, somebody who's been in the UFC for years, fought a shit ton of elite guys, has that experience. It's going to take a guy like that to beat an elite wrestler like Gregor Gillespie. So yeah, I have no problem with the line. I think it could be even steeper, and I wish you luck, man. You got a great line. So moving on, we do have the main event of the evening. Great fight. We got Kevin Holland. He is minus 170, taking on Derek Brunson, plus 145. I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, so I actually put a unit and a half on Brunson plus 145 here. It's kind of weird because like Holland's one of these guys I have such mixed feelings about. You know, he's a guy I waffle back and forth on all the time because, you know, the bottom line is throughout his time in the UFC, he's shown basically no propensity for defensive grappling at all. You know, he's very easy to take down, has a bad tendency when you get in his guard to try to attack from there rather than work up. And, you know, that's the kind of stuff I really hate. On the other side, though, you know, his striking numbers are like off the charts insane. And, you know, that's impressive. And I actually think, you know, you're going to have a massive speed difference here, and he might even have a power edge in this matchup. The problem is like 2 things for me with Holland. And the first one being obviously the wrestling. You know, Brunson is a pretty proactive grappler here. You know, we know he'll go for takedowns consistently. He's going to get takedowns if he wants them. Now, whether he can control them for extended sequences, I don't know. But if Holland's gas tank looks the way it did 2 fights ago in the Darren Stewart fight, you know, that's not a great sign for how this fight could go. You know, the second thing is really level of competition too. So it's like Holland, you know, people were talking about him as fighter of the year last year, but like real quick, you know, First fight he won, Anthony Hernandez, quick knockout to the body. Joaquin Buckley, that briefly looked like it was aging well, looks a little less so now. But again, the guy was debuted, short notice, massive size disadvantage. The aforementioned Darren Stewart fight, split decision, didn't look great during it. Faces Charlie Ontiveros, not UFC level, gets injured. And then Jacare Souza, who, look, that was awesome. That was one of the best moments of the year. But, like, let's be honest, that's not really a predictive outcome at all. Like, KOing him from guard with a punch. Like, that's one of the wildest things I've ever seen. And so, ultimately, it's like he's looked good. He's looked very good in spots. But he's not really doing it against top-level competition. Whereas a guy like Derek Brunson, who's been fighting nothing but top-level competition for years. And, like, I don't mean to compare Holland to Edmund Shabazian because I actually think Holland's probably better. But, like, you saw what happened when guys take the step up who aren't really in that top 5 tier against Brunson in that Shabazian fight. Like, look, Brunson's slower than Holland, but he's a pretty good striker when he can keep himself under control and isn't sprinting at you. And, you know, Brunson, look, guy was an All-American wrestler. He wrestles in every fight. I think he's landed – or he's attempted something like 9 takedowns a fight over his last 3 or 4 fights, something like that. Ultimately, I just kind of think, look, I think Holland could nuke him. I think if Holland's able to scramble early and his cardio holds up, he's probably going to win this fight standing. But just, you know, the experience factor plus the fact that I'm pretty confident Brunson's going to be able to get takedowns when he wants them makes me willing to take a small shot at him as a dog.
So I got Kevin Holland here. I think he should be the favorite. I can't decide how much by. Like, I'm just having a hard time just capping this fight. But I definitely feel comfortable picking him. It's just Derek Brunson. He struggles against these sharp strikers, especially guys that are longer than him. Like you saw, I know it's Israel Adesanya, guys. I'm not saying Kevin Holland is Israel Adesanya, but like you could see that length, that distance management. Like, it gave Brunson some problems. I mean, he got knocked down three times in that fight. It was just really a terrible shellacking. And then even 2 fights later, like, yeah, he beat Ian Heinisch, and that was a good win and all, but he almost got destroyed in that fight. Like, first 30 seconds, got hurt real bad, and Ian kind of had a little bit of an adrenaline dump. But, you know, props to Brunson for basically dominating the rest of that fight. And next one against Edmund Shabazian, where almost everybody and their mom is on Edmund. It's like, in hindsight, Edmund was a 22-year-old guy with 10 pro fights. He hasn't really paid his dues yet, and it was first L time. Now, Kevin Holland is a guy who's paid his dues, took some losses, fought some really amazing fighters, and I just feel like he does get Brunson out of there at some point. And even if Brunson does get takedowns, which I think he probably does unless Holland gets a really early knockout, Holland's not some fish. He's got the BJJ black belt. We just saw him knock a guy out from bottom. I'm not going to say that's going to happen again, but you can see this guy's really putting it all together. And, you know, a long time ago when he first got into the UFC, we were all questioning his mental. Like, he messes around in there, makes some mistakes. The grappling defense wasn't good, but I feel like he really turned a corner after the Brennan Allen fight. He's looked very sharp since then. Now, to touch on that Darren Stewart fight, like, he was in knee braces in that fight, and I don't think he was 100% there. And yeah, it was just kind of weird. I think you match those two back up again, and Holland takes care of biz pretty easily, to be honest. So yeah, I like Brunson. I have a lot of respect for him. Like, a little bit of a career resurgence. Like, I remember when everyone was just so high on fading Brunson, and then he's just coming out here and pretty much ruining everyone's parlays these days. So got a lot of respect for Brunson, but yeah, I got to feel like Kevin Holland knocks him out here like at least 55% of the time. So I will go with him. We'll see where the line goes. You got anything else you want to add?
To be honest, it's kind of funny you said that. So it's like I played Brunson against Edmund, and it's like usually when people start talking about everybody fading somebody, it's about time to start betting on them. But conversely, now it seems like, and it's one of the things that's scaring me, that like everybody now it seems like is betting Brunson. I bet MMA here against Holland. I'm like, well, the line's not moving. That's a little worrying. But yeah, I mean, I agree with most of what you said. Like I said, it's really a value play for me. I like Holland a lot, you know, and if it turns out he can stand up, he's going to look like a great price here. So,
yeah, man. So I gotta ask, do you play DraftKings?
I do.
All right, so we're gonna talk about this slate a little bit. It just got released today, so no shockers. Montel Jackson, he's the biggest favorite on the slate. He's 9,400, but like usually when you get a minus 800, it's more like the 96, 9,700 range on DraftKings. So I'm not gonna lie, I feel like you might even be getting a little bit of value with Montel Jackson on DraftKings at 9,400. Like, I'd much rather play Montel than any of the other the two biggest favorites behind him. Like you got Julia Avila 9,200. I feel like she might get a TKO, but I feel like it could be like late third round where you're only getting 45 points for a third round finish. Cheyenne Bay's like I don't know if I want to pay up the 9,100 for this 5-2 girl. I don't know if she's going to get a finish necessarily, but again, stay tuned on that. I haven't really looked into the fight now. Where I'm sure I'm not alone on this. Gregor Gillespie 9,000. I think that's a must play. Like, and this really could be like a DraftKings dream right here because, like we both mentioned it, Brad Riddell has a good get up game. So I think this is going to be a situation where Brad Riddell might get up quite a few times and he gets taken back down quite a few times. So this is where you might get one of those really ridiculous takedown numbers like we saw Merab Dvalishvili against guy on this card, Gustavo Lopez. Gustavo Lopez showed a pretty good get-up game in that fight. He kept getting up. That's why we saw Merab land like 14 takedowns in that fight, absolutely smash the DraftKings slate. I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Brad is going to, at least early in the fight, work his way back up a few times, and we're going to see Gregor Gillespie probably land quite a few takedowns. I wouldn't even write a sub finish out of the water. I think that could happen too. Tied to Tuivasa 8,900. I mean, it's a heavyweight fight where bombs are going to fly. I think you got to have some of him. Yanez 8,800. I mean, offensively speaking, he's great. I mean, there's a lot of fights in that 9,000 to 8,600 range. I want to play. As far as mid range, I mean, JP Buys is another guy I guess could get a lot of takedowns, but then again, I feel like he might lose this fight. You got any of these favorites you're really targeting on DraftKings?
So, I mean, I honestly, I know it's a little nuts. I might go near 100% on Gregor. Like, it's kind of worth pointing out now with the new total strike thing and scoring for total strikes. Gregor is not, even though, he's kind of thought of as just kind of a wrestler submission guy, he actually is constantly peppering ground and pound while he's fighting. If you actually look at his scores, his lowest score outside of the Lee fight is 105. Other than that, his next lowest score is 117. Like, the guy is a monster. And so, I mean, I'm going to be all over him. Other one that you might have just mentioned it, but I think you have to have a lot of Grant Dawson. The bottom line is, I'm not saying go as big as Gregor, but, I think we both think he's going to grapple. And if he does do that and he wins, he's going to fill it up as well. So, like, I guess for my kind of upper tier, most of my builds are going to start somewhere around like Jackson, Dawson, and Gillespie. Probably everything starts around Gillespie. I think you touched on it with Bays. I think even though I like the other side in that fight, I mean, a Bays win's predicated either on a submission or ground domination, right? So, I think you want to be on him there. I just like Silva because he's a dog as well. And then, oh God, the lower tier is pretty rough this week, dude. Have you looked at the lower tier yet?
Yeah, it's tough, but I kind of mentioned it earlier. Stoliarenko, 7,000. Like, I'm going to take a few punts on her just based on path to victory. One of the cheapest fighters in the card. If you want to get a little less risky, we got oh man, Song Kanon's only 7,700. See, I was expecting a little better than that. I don't know about 7,700. Yeah, the lower tier is pretty rough, man. Not gonna lie. Maybe like Dontel Mays,
Lopez, Santos, Renaud. I guess that Dontel Mays, but like Mays doesn't really seem like a big power hitter. Like, I don't know how likely it is for Mays to finish. So although I guess a win down there, it doesn't really matter at that point. But
yeah, man. Leo Santos, 7,600. That's actually not bad. Yeah. Marion Renaud, 7,500. Grappling path to victory. That could be something. So the spots are there. I think we just gotta pick and choose wisely. So should be a pretty fun slate. Anything else you want to say about this card, my man?
No, that's it. I'm pumped for it though. It's gonna be fun. Kevin Holland. You know what? I enjoy new Derek Brunson, and Kevin Holland's about as fun as it gets. So it's a cool main event. I'm ready for it, and I'm ready for Gregor to come back. So.
For sure, man. Like I said, lots of gems on this card for the hardcore MMA fan. I want to thank John very much for coming on. It was a fun one. I've had a lot of you club and sub guys on in the past few weeks. You guys are all sharp, fun to talk to. So hope to see you again on another one. If you want to go ahead, shout out where the people can find you, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. You can find me on Twitter at MMA Fawkes, Fawkes, and as one of the co-hosts of the Club and Sub podcast. Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be doing the damn thing tomorrow if you want to stop by. And Kelton, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, man. I enjoyed it.
Of course, my man. It was a lot of fun. And to you live viewers, I appreciate it very much. Hit that sub button. I'm pretty sure I'm like 2 subscribers away from 700. So that'd be a fun little mark there. Hit that like button. Appreciate that as well. And guys, if you're not on Twitter, if you're just surfing the MMA YouTube scene, you gotta get on Twitter. That's where it's at. That's where we're all chopping it up pretty much like every single day. Got to stay tuned for those bets as well. So follow me on Twitter at MMA Kelton. You can follow John at MMA Fox. And it's going to do it for us, guys. Appreciate it. See ya.